I'm very happy to be presenting at this webinar. Actually, Flexidata is one of my favorite partners. We've known each other together with Hui for more than 3 years now. And yeah, it's a big pleasure for me to have this intro to Creatio platform for you today. So I will probably start with a very short, like a pitch, elevator pitch of Creatio. And I would like to say that we have been on the market for more than 16 years and still being a private company. We have been included into a number of very prestigious reports of Gartner and Forrester, well-known analytical firms. We provide a low-code development platform for business process management and CRM. And as you can see on this snapshot of different Magic Quadrants of Gartner's, that actually means being a leader for the key CRM domains like marketing, sales, and service, and obviously low-code development and business process management. So these are the domains in which analysts recognize us as the top performing vendors. Another thing which deserves a quick mention is that we also have comparable positions in another firm's reports. Forrester, you have probably heard of this name as well. And yeah, awards and user reviews that we have, you can see them on the screen, and would be quite happy to elaborate on them if needed. But anyways, the reason for this presentation is actually to let you know what Creatio can do for the financial services industry. It is an industry that we know quite well, and I'm happy to say that about a third of Creatio clients is from the financial services industry. We work with different kinds of financial institutions like banks, investment firms, insurance companies, etc. And though each and every one of the banking projects is very unique and deserves very special attention, you know, we observe some common challenges that banks face today, regardless of whether they are from Vietnam, from the US, or other parts of the world. There are just things that are relevant for each and every one from this industry. And we think that it would be really good for us to just start this webinar from the trends that we've observed in the projects that we've delivered, some things that might be relevant to you. Perhaps the biggest challenge is that the industry is being disrupted by the new technology. We know a lot of industries that were changed, transformed quite significantly with the arrival of new technologies. And it is something that we observe in the financial industry as well, because you have probably not heard yourself of a lot of different fintech companies, e-money, e-wallets, etc. And actually, McKinsey has counted more than 5,000 startups, being created annually worldwide, and that's a very big number, especially given the fact that McKinsey expects that almost half of the market will be taken by this new technology by 2025, just about 4 years from now. And this part of the market is also going to own the future, because the young generation, as we can see from the reports on the European population, the young generation is very favorable to these kind of financial technologies. So banks can no longer just remain banks and compare themselves to banks. Banks have to innovate in order just to preserve the market share and the current volumes that we have. Another thing which we observe is that, again, consumers do not compare banks to banks. They compare banks to the other kinds of services that they have. They compare banks to the Amazon delivery services, 2-day delivery anywhere in the US. You probably have heard of it. They compare banks with the quick delivery services, etc. And even millennials, not Generation Z, but even millennials is really prone to changing a bank that they don't like in just 90 days, just 1 quarter. So users of bank services, they expect very high personalization. They want to be treated not just as an account number. They want to be treated as humans. They want so that the bank reaches out to them with very relevant messages, with very personalized messages. And they also want some creativity from the banks in terms of the services that are offered. Another thing that has to be kept in mind is that we have not only external customers, we also have internal clients. Those are our employees. You see a very impressive piece of statistics here that actually employees work with a very high number of applications usually, and they can spend up to 1 hour per day just switching the applications, just navigating in this complex IT environment. And I personally have been working with banks and credit unions that have had more than 15 different apps that were required for the bank teller to go through in order to understand what's been going on with the customer in the past. So can you imagine that 15 different screens just to have a consolidated profile of the client? And that is a very big damage, not only to the productivity, but also to the morale. And we see that young workers, they expect user-friendly technology, they expect the ability to do their job quickly and easily, and it is something that can really frustrate them that they can simply leave the job. It's not a negligent number now. You can see 16% of the Gen Z and millennials are really capable of changing the job because of the bad technologies of the employer. So that's a serious issue as well. And perhaps the last one to set the stage would be this crave for the visibility, this demand of high precision analytics. You've been hearing these words, big data, for quite a number of years now. It is sort of a buzzword, but at the same time, still a very high percentage of executives and CEOs, in particular, they complain that they still don't have the visibility. They might have a lot of data, but they don't know what to do with that. They don't know how to organize that properly. And everybody wants to have a very easy to understand dashboard, but very few organizations are really capable of delivering such analytics to their managers, to the leadership. So definitely there is a set of steps, the strategies that banks can take right now in order to evolve, in order to be ready for this future that is coming. And perhaps we should start with the customer, as always, that we have to be relevant in our outreaches, that we have to be really personalized and let the customer know that we know him as the person, as somebody that we can really have conversations with, not just pitch to. Definitely for that, we have to implement the technologies that would not require the marketers or the sales force of the bank to do mundane stuff manually. So a lot of the time-consuming job has to be taken by the technology so that the people really focus on speaking to people, so to speak. The other thing that we recommend is implementing a set of processes that would be seamless and invisible to the customer. I used to work, be serviced by a bank that had certain SLAs, and when I wanted to inquire about a certain service, I knew that I would have to wait for some hours for my personal manager in the bank would contact his colleague. I kind of knew the team that was working with me, and that was not conducive to very high user experience. That was definitely very frustrating, that I had to understand these processes, that I had to kind of keep in mind these different steps that has to happen on the bank side. Definitely the employees of the bank should know at any moment what is the next best step for them. They should know what is actually the range of these steps that they have to execute for different customers. And business process automation, business process management technologies are really key to this result. Number 3 is that we need to provide the employees with just one screen to look at in order to understand what's the situation with the client. Not 10, not 15 screens, but one screen that would consolidate all the data about the past transactions, marketing communications, other kinds of interactions between the bank and the customer. And we need to have sort of a mastery system that would integrate all the data and present it in a very digestible and easy to work with format that's definitely an important thing. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to the fact that it is very hard to reach these results with the traditional approach to IT and development. We observe all the IT departments have an increasingly long backlogs these days, and a lot of the IT initiatives fail simply because they are not able to, because they can't be delivered within the timelines that are originally set to them. So many analysts, including Gartner, by the way, they believe that the future is reserved for the low-code development, meaning that these application development shouldn't be with the help of the code. It should be with the help of sort of a Lego constructor that you can take and tailor make a solution of your own that would work with your specific business needs. In fact, Gartner expects that by 2024, more than 65% of application development will be done with the help of low-code technologies, meaning that you don't have to be bachelor in mathematics or computer science in order to develop new IT solutions for yourself. You need just to have the low-code development application that has a very low entry barrier in terms of skills, so that as a regular employee, you could also contribute to this IT ecosystem, this IT landscape of the business, and bring your ideas to the table, automate the things that you think should be automated very quickly. So the question is obviously, what can Creatio do for that? And as a low-code development platform, we have a couple of things that put us in a very unique, in a very good position to help clients with that. So these are sort of the superpowers of Creatio, or simply put, differentiators. Number one is that we have always been growing organically. We have developed all the solutions for the CRM consumers, the BPM and process design modules ourselves. It was not, through acquisition and integration of other technologies, which means that from the architecture point of view, Creatio is just like a one giant application that deals with all of that and just gives people the needed level of access to the different modules. Number two is this business process management engine that we have in addition to the CRM components. In fact, we are really proud to say that perhaps the biggest differentiator of Creatio is that we provide two technologies in one package, BPM and CRM. So that allows us to streamline workflows, and I will give you an example of such workflows very shortly in a couple of slides. And the last thing on this slide that I'd like to mention is this low-code platform, which allows us to build tailor-made solutions within a very short amount of time. That's exactly because Flexidata's team does not have to write code for each and every task, and a lot of things can just be done with the help of the front-end designers, front-end wizards that we have. That is quicker to do, that is simpler to do, that's easier to maintain, and with very little training, clients can do the same on their end, not always being dependent on the system integrator. And here we have like a menu that you could choose from. These are the different areas in which we work with the banks and for which we provide solutions. So you can see that they run across different domains: CRM, front office, middle office, corporate services. And basically, that's all about the processes, the workflows, the ability to get things done quickly within the organization, understanding who's responsible for what and what SLAs are there with proper escalations, et cetera. And I'm very happy to pass the floor now to my colleagues from Flexidata so that they could visually let you know what these diagrams actually mean and how that looks like from the user perspective. So just now, Hui, over to you. Please continue. I hope that my part of this was really helpful to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Bogdan, for sharing. Very interesting. Right, so ok, đến phần của Huy thì chắc Huy cho đổi tiếng Việt cho nó tiện nhé. Thì ở đây còn một vài slide cuối thì Huy muốn wrap up về cái chủ đề low code no code. Ở đây thời cuộc là mình hậu Covid thì Huy tin rằng rất là nhiều anh chị cũng có kế hoạch digital transformation ở năm 2020, nhưng mà chúng ta bị một cái sự cố rất là đáng tiếc. Covid thì nó kéo dài cả năm á, thì sẽ có rất là nhiều cái thay đổi, có thể như những cái thay đổi về mặt là có nhiều cái project không có làm được, và hoàn toàn có thể thay đổi cái chiến lược kế hoạch, thậm chí là chúng ta phải cancel, chuyển qua những cái dự án nhỏ hơn, vì cái thời gian nó cũng còn lại rất là ít rồi, budget cũng bị giới hạn nữa. Thì đó là những số cái thay đổi rất là đột biến, không thể nào lường trước được sự kiện ngày hôm nay. Thì wrap up thì các bạn low code no code tại sao mà nó là một cái chủ đề có thể nói là trending cho cái ngày hôm nay, vì lý do rằng ở 4 cái objective mà anh chị thấy trên cái slide đó là cloud và anything as a service, rapid automation và agile operation model. Thì nói anh chị rất là chuyên gia về những chủ đề này rồi, thì Huy cũng wrap up lại là ở cái phương diện mà low code no code hiện nay á, thì khi mà chúng ta nói về deploy mọi thứ, không chỉ là chúng ta đợi những software có sẵn, và thì không phải lúc nào chúng ta cũng có điều kiện tiếp xúc với lại những cái gì đó có sẵn có, và nó sẽ là một cái gì đó rất là học, tức là khi mà business user có yêu cầu thì chúng ta mới phản hồi và chúng ta sẽ thiết kế lên một cái dịch vụ để phục vụ user. Thì nó rất là mang tính là anything as a service. Còn cloud thì hiện giờ cái lựa chọn trên cloud nó giúp cho chúng ta tiết kiệm rất là nhiều chi phí và sizing cho hardware. Tuy nhiên là Reassure cũng có một cái lựa chọn rất là thú vị là khi mà chúng ta lựa chọn cloud version và tương lai chúng ta muốn đầu tư nó nghiêm túc hơn, một cách gọi là tập trung hơn, nhiều user hơn và muốn control hơn, thì chúng ta có thể migrate cái cloud về on-premise. Đó là cái lựa chọn rất là tuyệt vời cho ngành tài chính, và ở Việt Nam chúng ta có một số cái quy định về lưu trữ dữ liệu tại đất nước. Rapid automation và agile operation đó, thì ở đây á, là thực ra cái chủ đề mà low cost no cost đó là cái tên trending thôi, nhưng mà cái bản chất vấn đề thì nó cũng từ xưa nó có rồi, chỉ có cái là hiện giờ công nghệ tốt hơn, cho nên là cái việc mình làm low cost no cost, mình làm automation rồi mình làm hỗ trợ vận hành nó tới hơn, nhanh hơn. Thí dụ như trước chúng ta có Visual Basic là chúng ta có thể làm một số cái giao diện kéo thả, nhưng mà hiện giờ chúng ta có thể set up những cái process, chúng ta có thể làm rất là nhiều cái xử lý phức tạp, do là chúng ta có những cái ứng dụng về automation tốt hơn, chúng ta có khả năng xử lý compute của máy tính nó mạnh hơn, cho nên chúng ta hoàn toàn xử lý được rất là nhiều cái process nền, và những cái nền tảng cộng lại thì nó giúp cho cái việc low code nó càng hiện nay nó thực tế, và nó giúp rất là nhiều. Như Bogdan cũng chia sẻ là nó tin rằng khoảng 4-5 năm nữa là hầu như là 60-70% software được deploy thì có thể nói là deploy dựa trên low code. Phần nhỏ chúng ta sẽ phải rất là đụng với technical, ví dụ integration chẳng hạn. Ở cái slide này cũng là cái slide cuối cùng rồi, thì cũng là cái wrap up. Thì giữa cái OOTP là out the box, là những cái gì đó có sẵn, những cái CM có sẵn. Hiện nay thì các anh chị cũng có được nghe chia sẻ là với Reassure và với những gì mà Reassure cung cấp thì nó không chỉ là low code no code BPM mà nó còn là CM nữa, tức là nó gọi là process driven CM, tức là mình có thể build rất là nhiều thứ, xây dựng process nền trên cái CM này. Thì với cái CM truyền thống thì chúng ta có một số cái giới hạn, ví dụ như là chúng ta nhìn nó như một sản phẩm có sẵn và chúng ta sẽ rất là khó, có thể là nó có cái tiện là chúng ta scoping ngay lập tức là hay làm cái gì, nhưng mà ở những dự án phức tạp như là finance banking thì nó không có đơn giản như vậy, không phải nhìn được cái user cần gì, mà nó sẽ cần có hàng loạt cái quy trình, gọi là nó có cái feedback loop, mình làm việc với user rồi mình sẽ nhận được yêu cầu, rồi mình sẽ có những cái phản hồi thay đổi trên đó. Thì với cái low cost CM á, thì chúng ta có cái điều kiện là chúng ta có thể làm rất là nhiều cái mẫu thử, chúng ta có thể scoping dự án nhanh hơn, và chúng ta có thể hình dung ra cái gì có khả thi và gì không khả thi luôn. Ví dụ như những process đó chúng ta có thể xây dựng những cái model footprint nhỏ hơn để chúng ta chúng ta để chúng ta có thể test cái model đó, và nếu nó work ở cái model nhỏ thì chúng ta có thể tin rằng nó có thể triển khai trên model lớn, thí dụ như vậy. Đó là một số cái thú vị. Về mặt integration thì hiện nay thậm chí là low code no code nó có thể thực hiện những cái vấn đề là mình set up automation để gọi API tự động luôn, những cái advanced feature nó mạnh đến như vậy, chúng ta có thể set up integration rất là tiện và rất là nhanh, không có phải nếu mà cái hệ thống của chúng ta đã có sẵn mở cửa cho API rồi thì chúng ta làm nó rất nhanh. Và đó là một trong những cái benefit của cái low cost CM. Ok, thì đó là cái tổng hợp. Thì tôi nghĩ rằng nói cũng nhiều rồi và mình cũng không muốn nói trên slide nữa, mình cũng muốn là mình sẽ chuyển qua mình show cho các anh chị những cái màn hình thực tế về Reaction, và Huy cũng sẽ chuyển phần trình bày qua cho bạn Phương. Thì Phương sẽ take over từ lúc này. Phương sẽ share cái màn hình nhé.